Welcome to Grace in the Grind, brought to you by Arrow and Roots Coffee Company, where faith meets the everyday. Here we slow down long enough to notice God's presence in the middle of life's busiest moments, to find encouragement, clarity, and a reminder of His grace in the grind of daily life. Now grab your coffee and let's take a sip of this cup together. Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Then 1 Thessalonians 5:11 goes on to say, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." As we head into Thanksgiving, most of us will find ourselves around a table, maybe with family, maybe with close friends. We'll laugh, we'll definitely eat too much, and for a few hours, the noise of the world will quiet just enough for us to notice how good it feels to simply be together. That moment, shoulder to shoulder, sharing food and stories, reminds us of what community was meant to be. But for many of us, something happens after the holiday glow fades. The leftovers disappear, the dishes get put away, and we quietly return to our routines. Back to the grind, back to the isolation, back to busy. We remember how good fellowship felt, but we don't always carry it forward. For some, though, Thanksgiving doesn't feel restful at all. Maybe you're the one that hosts, the one who makes sure everything looks beautiful, the table is perfect, the food is ready, and the house is photo worthy. You work hard to create a space where everyone else can relax, but by the time you sit down, you're too exhausted to enjoy it. And even if everyone appreciates your effort, even if it all goes perfectly, it can still feel like too much. Because true fellowship isn't about perfection, it's about presence. This year, we had an early Thanksgiving. The timing didn't line up perfectly, and neither did our house. Trim was still missing from the flooring we'd just put down. The kitchen is half remodeled. Toys were scattered across the living room, like decorations of their own, I guess. And our windows, well, they had fingerprints, handprints, and definitely some mysterious smudges you'd expect from a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old that we're not going to try to figure out what they were. But we opened the door anyway. We welcomed friends and family, some for the first time, into our home, into our imperfect space. We did have flowers on the table and fun plates because it's worthy of celebrating. But we reminded ourselves that it wasn't about presenting the perfect life. It was about sharing life, the messy, loud, joy-filled, real kind. And that included the noise. Kids ran through the house laughing, chasing each other, and creating messes faster than we could clean the old ones. But in the middle of all that movement, something beautiful was happening. They were watching. They saw their parents and other adults genuinely connecting, laughing around the table, praying together, sometimes even sharing tears and offering comfort. They witnessed love in action, grace given freely, burdens shared, joy celebrated. That's fellowship in its truest form. When our children see the gospel lived out in real time, when they watch their parents who love one another pour that same love onto others, when they see believers encouraging the weary, celebrating the victories, and walking side by side through every season of life. It's a sharpening that happens not by lecture, but by example. When Scripture calls us to consider how to spur one another on towards love and good deeds and not give up meeting together, it's not just about church attendance or formal gatherings. It's about shared life. Now, we're going to talk about church a little bit later and about fellowshipping together. But right now, it's about pulling up one more chair, brewing one more cup of coffee, making space for someone who needs to know that they're not alone. Jesus modeled this so beautifully. Before he went to the cross, he shared a meal, a simple table of bread and wine with his closest friends. He didn't host in a perfect house. He wasn't surrounded by spotless dishes or polished walls. He was surrounded by people he loved, people he served, people he was preparing to die for. The early church understood this too. In Acts 2:46, we're told that believers broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. Not perfect hearts, sincere ones. The kind that make room for laughter and tears, for prayer and conversations, for grace and truth. Fellowship is one of the ways God reminds us that we're not meant to walk alone. It's where encouragement happens. It's where faith grows stronger. It's where grace is both given and received. Matthew 18:20 says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them." So whether your table is polished or covered in crumbs, whether you're gathered around for a meal or standing in the kitchen laughing with friends, God is there. He shows up when his people show up for one another. And when we choose to share life, even its imperfections, we give others a glimpse of Christ in us. As you pour this fourth cup, take time to look around your table, not just at Thanksgiving, but in the days after. Who could you invite back once the holiday decorations are packed away? Who might need a meal, a cup of coffee, or a seat in your home? Not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is open. Maybe it's your neighbor who eats alone more often than they'd like. Maybe it's a young couple just starting out, a single parent, or a friend who's quietly carrying more than they can handle. Grace in the grind isn't just found in solitude or service, it's found in sharing the table. Because when we gather, encourage, and break bread together, we experience a taste of heaven, where grace is endless, joy is shared, and the table never runs out of room. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. Philippians 2:4. Thank you for joining me for this fourth cup of Grace in the Grind. If today's podcast was encouraging to you and you wanted to share it with a friend, that would be great. Leave a review. It helps others find us and join this community. And remember, grace isn't just for Sundays or for the holidays. It's for every day, even in the grind. I'm Cody, and this has been Grace in the Grind, a part of Arrow and Roots Coffee Company. And until next time, keep your coffee strong and your faith stronger.